Hi guys, and welcome back to Movies That Matter with the Viking. And today let's talk about some David Ayer, some Jared Leto, and some Cathy Yan going up against some bloggers. First of all, David Ayer had this to tweet. This was a reshot because the tone was too dark. My first act was a normally constructed film. I took my inspiration from Nolan. There were real scenes with incredible acting between Jared and Margot. Joker was terrifying, Harley was complex. David Ayer has been fighting for his cut of the Ayer Cut of Suicide Squad over the last few weeks. Well, he's been dropping hints over the last year or so, but lately, since the Snyder Cut has been announced, he's been a lot more engagement with fans, answering questions, talking about things, clearing up rumours and reports about his cut of Suicide Squad. And it looks like that he would love HBO Max, AT&T to announce his film on their platform, just like Zack Snyder is getting done. And he's become a lot more interactive, and I love it. I really like that he's showing exactly where he was done wrong, what things that the Warner Brothers did to him at the time, that they changed his film, the one he was shooting. They changed his vision drastically, and for me, that's very annoying as a fan of David Ayers, as a DC fan, to see this happen to so many directors. It's just annoying. I want to see the full vision. It doesn't mean the film will be better, but I think it's just better for the industry that the directors get to tell the vision that they wanted to tell. They were hired for a reason. And look, it was reshot. That last scene we seen in the trailer, it was reshot. Like, there's so much Joker that we haven't seen, and I think if you watch any of David Ayer's films, you will see that they're very, very dark in terms of this characters are going through so much struggle and through so much trauma that they have to get over this. I really think we missed out on the comic book version of Fury, the one he did with Brad Pitt and Shia LaBeouf. I really, really think we're missing out. I think that's exactly what the film would be like, only in a comic book movie style, but also in a realism style that a normal film would be done in. And to know that there's more of the relationship between Jared Leto's Joker and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, it's really annoying that we didn't get to see those things, but that's why I want and I campaign for this film to be released on HBO Max, and I'm loving that David Ayer is also doing this. It then talked about the very first trailer that was released for Suicide Squad, which is an amazing trailer. This trailer nailed the tone and intention of the film I made. Medical, layered, complex, beautiful, and sad. After the BVS reviews shell-shocked the leadership at the time and the success of Deadpool, my soulful drama was beaten into a comedy. I told you he was going to make a film similar to the other films that he did. He does these films with these deep layered characters that are going through so much shit, but he does it in such a great way. And he even says here, after the Batman vs Superman reviews, of course something that we know of, that Warner Brothers, the leaderships of Warner Brothers started to panic. They were listening to critics, listening to bloggers too much, and not listening to the core fan base who was loving this incarnations of the storytelling and the characters of the DC. And it's terrible that they changed his film into a comedy just like Deadpool. That's sad to hear, but I love this comment by David Ayer. He said, yes, DC characters are complex and have souls like ours. They are all dealing with pain and loss and choose to do the right thing nevertheless. And this is the perfectly summed tweet of why I love DC. I'm a Marvel fan too, but DC has always attracted to me more. I really like that the characters are complex. They have souls, and it shows in the films. They go through shit. They're not perfect, happy-go-lucky characters. They're not, because the real world isn't like that. My life isn't like that. Your life isn't like that. Nobody is perfect. Nobody has a perfect life, and I wish everyone did. But people go through shit, not just spiritually, but mentally and physically, and it wears and tears on people, and I love seeing that in DC movies because it helps me relate to those characters even more. And yes, I say there's realism, there's grounded elements in Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel, and people say, how can you say that about a superhero film that has a guy flying? Because it's not just about that. It's a superhero film and a guy just happens to fly in it, but he goes through shit just like we do. Just like Henry Cavill's Superman and Batman vs Superman goes through so much shit. Ben Affleck's Batman goes through so much shit, and it's easier to relate to these characters, and that's why I love DC. He also had this to say. This theatrical did incredible business, introduced new characters to the fans, and was a fun summer movie. It was an incredible journey for which I am eternally grateful. And that was referring to a fan who said that they loved the 2016 theatrical version of Suicide Squad. And I love it too. I really, really do. Anytime it's on, I love sitting down and watching it because I like the way, I like the jokes in it, I like the humor, I like the songs that were chosen in it. Even though I know that it's not David Ayer's full vision of the film, I went to see that film in 2016 with my brother and I had a great time with that film and I've watched it countless times since. Is it perfect? No. Is it the best story? No. Is the villain shit? Yes. But I really like the film. I do. But I really want to see David Ayer's cut of the film first, of course. Someone asked him about the runtime and he says, don't worry about running time. It's about how the story is told. And that's perfectly it. The film can be the same length as the theatrical version, but it can be edited in the way that he wanted in terms of how the scenes come, how long the scenes are. Instead of the music, there could be a score. That changes the drastic tone of the film so much, because if you take out those hip hop songs and put in a dramatic score, it could change some of those scenes and how the characters were presented and acted. He also said, imagine if Todd Phillips' film The Joker was reshot and recut because it was too dark. This is exactly what happened to Suicide Squad. Anyone who says my cut did not work owes me to say it directly to me, and that is exactly right, David. Imagine if Todd Phillips' Joker was edited down to be a PG-13 film or to attract other and wider audiences. Joaquin Phoenix would have definitely walked. Todd Phillips would have never did it in the first place. Imagine a Joker film that we got, which is an absolutely brilliant comic book film that won Oscars and had great performances and great direction. Imagine if that was recut and reshot. Well, David Ayers said his Suicide Squad was on the same level of that Joker film in terms of how edgy it was, how much it pushed the characters, and how much the storytelling was so dark and gritty and presented a real world. David Ayers also said it created an incredible distortion in the comic book movie space. DC is doing great now. DC is a darker, more psychological, realistic universe. Lean in and love it. And he's talking about the differences between the DC Warner Brothers higher ups from 2016 to now. He says things have changed to an extent, and that his film in the DC universe at that time was completely out of place. And that kind of was. If you look at Man of Steel, look at BVS, and then you look at Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad stands out there to be the kind of rotten egg in terms of the way it's told and the way the storytelling and the tone of the world. But he said that the DC is more psychologically realistic universe, and I totally agree. I wrote a perfectly coherent script, and Joker was rich and dimensional. You have been lied to. It's okay to be angry. And a fan was angry over the Joker that we got. And he has said countless times that Jared Leto's Joker was great, that Jared Leto's Joker was hard done by, so many scenes were cut out of. And I'm one of the big defenders of Jared Leto. Jared Leto is an Oscar-winning actor. He is one of the best. He is brilliant. But he was cut out of that film so much. And that's such an insult to him as an actor, to David Ayer as a director. He hired the man. He went through a casting process with him. He got into the character with him. He helped him as much as he could. And then for his film and his scene to be cut is just, it's just disappointing, to be honest. And this was a tweet. I made a tweet about Jared Leto's Joker that I wanted to see him come back, and one of my followers, or I don't know, one of the guys who commented under it said, I want Jared Leto to know this. I hope he comes back as the Joker and proves people haters wrong about his performance. I also hope he plays the Joker at least say 2 or 3 more times, especially how like Suicide Squad should have been. Hashtag release the Ayer Cut. And that was under one of my tweets I made about Jared Leto's Joker. I didn't tag him. This guy did, and thankfully he did. And Jared Leto liked the tweet. So Jared Leto is all for hashtag release the Ayer Cut and for it coming out and for Joker to come back. David Ayer got that tweet and said Jared was pretty mistreated during this. No one has seen his performance. It was ripped out of the movie. And so there's so much of Jared Leto's Joker that we have not seen, that Jared Leto was also angry about. He said it in the press tour when he was doing Suicide Squad that so much was cut out to even do a full Joker movie. And David Ayer backs this up about his performance. And look, Jared Leto liked the tweet, so he wants to see his Joker out there. He wants to see it. He wants everyone to see how much effort and work he put into it, because he gets so much hate. He really does. And I'm one of the biggest defenders of him because I know there's a great performance there. Maybe even one of the most comic accurate Joker performances of all time. Heath Ledger was brilliant. Joaquin Phoenix was brilliant. Mark Hamill, Jack Nicholson, Cesar Romero, all absolutely brilliant, and they do something different. And I bet you Jared Leto did something different, but he has been robbed to just a little tiny, not even worthy to be called a cameo in David Ayer's 2016 version of Suicide Squad. Now, fellow DC director Cathy Yan, director of Birds of Prey, started to support David Ayer's comments. I'm sorry this happened to you, David. I know the pain. Now, was she referring to Birds of Prey? Now, I like Birds of Prey. I thought it it lacked. It needed Joker. It needed another big name star along with Harley Quinn for the film to attract more audiences. But all in all, I enjoyed the film. I disagreed with some elements of the storytelling, not having a Joker in it at all, and the way that the Birds of Prey was presented. But all in all, I enjoyed it. I liked the action. Ewan McGregor as Black Mask was brilliant. But this caught a lot of people's attention. It was Cathy Yan done dirty by Warner Brothers as well. Was her cut of Birds of Prey messed with? We all know Chad Chinansky, was it the John Wick, one of the John Wick directors, was brought in to do the action and reshoot things there. So maybe it's not hard to believe if Warner Brothers went and messed with another DCU film. But to how much extent? I think while watching the film, I think there's a lot of Black Mask that we haven't seen. But there was a lot of rumors at the time that there was dick pics involved, and they went back to reshoot this ridiculous part of the script. Dick pics was involved with Cassandra Cain's character swallowing a diamond, which had possessed these dick pics of Black Mask, and then he wanted to get them back. But I never believed those rumors whatsoever. And a lot of people, a lot of bloggers, and clickbait articles were made about that. I never really bought into it. I never believed it whatsoever. I didn't think it made any sense. But I also said if it was true and if it was a scene in the film, then who knows to what way it would have worked. It could have been perfect for the way that she was telling her story. It could have, in context, it could have been actually brilliant, but we don't know if it was true or not. But David Ayer said to her, "I thank you, Cathy. It means more than you can imagine." So David Ayer has support from other DCU directors. Of course, Zack Snyder was messed with, David Ayer was messed with, and if Cathy Yan was messed with, then that's disappointing as well. How much of her film was cut, because it is a short film. It's like an hour and 45, hour and 50 minutes with me. It is a very short film, and it goes by quick enough while you're watching it in theaters. I haven't seen it since I watched it in the cinemas, but I do remember it being a short film, and I wanted more. It could have been an extra 20, 25 minutes longer. I thought the third act was very short. They needed more Black Mask, and maybe a better conclusion would have been cooler and stuff like that, but that's just the way it was told at the time. And if there is another cut of the film, I would like to see it, but I wouldn't say it changes it drastically like Zack Snyder's Justice League or David Ayers' Suicide Squad. But blogger and YouTuber Grace Randolph had this to say: "I told you guys, massive reshoots largely to take out dick pics, storyline and add more action v Chad Talensky. I'm surprised Yan would jump on the bandwagon, though Birds of Prey very well received by critics and has a very strong fan base that fundamentally defends the film as is. Hashtag DCU. Well, Birds of Prey doesn't have that huge of a fan base. It doesn't have what the Ayer Cut has. It doesn't have what Zack Snyder's Justice League has. It didn't make that much money at the box office. It probably broke even, gained a little bit of profit, but not too much to write home about. And yes, it did get good reviews, but not from Grace Randolph. She will let you believe that she did give it good reviews, but in fact, I think she only gave it a 5 out of 10. She's one of the first people who broke that story about the dick pics, and here she is trying to back up her story to gain more credibility and to put Yan's story down. The large reshoots to take out the dick pic storyline. And look, Cathy Yan was not happy about this statement, and these articles and this information has been going around since last January, I'd say, and Grace Randolph was one of the people to break this scoop, she called it at the time, her tea as she refers it to, and then it spread like wildfire around to other bloggers and scoopers, and then clickbait articles were being made that saying that Birds of Prey had some pedophilia elements in it, which it did not, the actual film that came out. And look, Cathy Yan, in her own right, wanted to defend her film and spoke out over Grace Randolph's comments here. And I'm kind of glad she did, because it clears up a lot of false rumours about the film. And look, this is what Cathy had to say. She goes, "Excuse me, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's fascinating you would deem to try when you weren't part of the process whatsoever." So there's Cathy Yan, the director of Birds of Prey, putting down that comment and that statement regarding Grace Randolph saying large reshoots and dick pics and the action. So saying, look, you have no idea what you're talking about. You weren't involved with any of the film. You nobody consulted you. You're not a part of the production, the process, anything like that. How would you possibly know in what context these discussions are had or what goes on behind the scenes. You might hear information, you might hear scoops, you might hear things like that, but you don't know the full story because you're not in the room when the full story is going on. So how can you make such a bold comment and be so confident in it? So Grace Randolph, of course, replied, couldn't leave it unseen. She goes, no reporter is ever part of the process. They're different jobs. Everything I reported is common knowledge with many insiders. I brought it to the public. I gave your film a good review and I said, here you have a strong fan base. So logically, there should be no problem here. So here's Grace Randolph trying to backtrack on her comment, but she also clears out a few things. You know, she says, look, no reporter is ever in the process. Just clearing up the obvious there from Grace, but she said it's common knowledge, even though the director is saying that this, what you're referring to, the dick pics, is not true. She said you give the film a good review. She didn't. She gave it a 5 out of 10. And I said you will have a strong fan base. And there is a fan base that supports Birds of Prey and defends Birds of Prey. It really does. But we know that most of the people that went to see Birds of Prey was men, even though it was such a largely marketed, female assembled film trying to engage female members to the audience and stuff, but even though men is what made the money that it did. Cathy Yan says, and I thank you for the support, but let's set the record straight. There were never dick pics. You peddling a pedophilia rumor is not journalism. Peddling any gossip is not journalism. I know, I was one. Cathy Yan referring to, she used to be a former journalist, of course. Saying like you're running this false story that has elements that says I was doing a pedophilia film, and I can understand why Cathy Yan wanted to talk about this and defend her film. You know, it's her film, it's her piece of art, it's her piece of work that's going to stand the test of time for forever. And people are making up rumors about having pedophilia in the film, and look, that's pretty annoying. You put so much heart and soul, blood and sweat and tears into a film, and then people come out and start making false rumors, clickbait articles to try and downgrade you as a director and also downgrade your film. And then those people try and backtrack on everything that they've said about it, even though they have ran this agenda and put it in so many people's heads that this was what the film was reshot for, and this is why there was so much changed. And I can understand Cathy. Maybe like this is also a prime example of not to probably get involved with these bloggers and these scoopers and YouTubers that make clickbait articles, headlines to try and put you down, because look, it never kind of ends well. I know Cathy Yan wants to say her piece and defend her film, which I'm all for, and I completely agree. But I'm sure it was hard to keep her mouth shut over this because it's such a strong comment to make from Grace and from other people. And Cathy Yan then referring to about why even have those things in the film in the first place, because there was references to Black Mass's penis, and she goes, it was a joke to show how narcissistic he is. It didn't work, we all agreed, so we wrote some ADR. That's it. Absolutely no reshoots were devoted to this nonsense issue. So there she says they had no reshoots whatsoever to change the element of Black Mask and the picture of him. So basically what it was Ewan McGregor's character Black Mask in a sculpture, like statue of David, the Cathy Yan refers to him being naked and him talking about his penis size and him not being happy about the penis size and getting angry of it. And if you watch Black Mask in Birds of Prey, you'll see that he's always on the edge. One time he can go from happy, he can go to angry. You know, you've seen that in the barroom scene where he gets the woman to stand up at the table and to take off her dress, so he can change his mood very quickly. And this sounds like something that he would get very angry over, looking at a statue of himself and then getting angry because the penis doesn't match his own penis in his own head, thinking it's bigger, and then he gets angry over it and stuff like this. This is what it would have suited that a lot. And then Grace Randolph says the storyline was that you could see Roman's dick on the statue, in the picture, in the diamond, and he was upset it looked small. So that's why he was so fixated on getting it back. A picture of a statue's dick, especially in this context, is a dick pic. So basically there was a picture of the sculpture of Ewan McGregor's Black Mask naked, and then it was put into a diamond, and then Cassandra Cain, the young kid, swallowed this diamond, and then Black Mask wanted the diamond back. He wanted it back because it had his small penis. So I can't believe we're even talking about all this got to do with Ewan McGregor. So we got a director and a blogger talking about Ewan McGregor's penis. So you know, it was quite funny to see this going on my timeline the other day, and two people so defensive on their statements. And she goes, "This is not true. There has never been any discussions around the size of Roman's dick. I can't believe I even have to write that. I can't believe I have to do a video on it." The original script called for an image of Roman as Michelangelo's David. Art. If that's a dick pic, then Lavore is full of them. So she said that's not true whatsoever. There was no discussions around the size of Roman's dick. So there you go. Look, there was this rumor, this idea was not an idea whatsoever. So basically what I think it was, in the context, it would have made sense of him getting angry over someone making a sculpture of him and not making his penis big enough. And then him getting angry or killing that sculpture. That's the sculptor. That's like something that Black Adam would do, because in the film he was so on the edge and he could turn anyone just like that. So the story of Cassandra Cain swallowing the diamond and then going off with it seems to be untrue. And then they didn't want to go forward with this idea of Black Mask referring to his dick a lot, so they moved on with it, which is fair. You can change things in a film that they don't think can work, but it definitely wasn't dick pics like on a phone that you might get off someone that you're texting, or a man might send a woman if she likes, stuff like that. It wasn't, because at the time everyone thought it was dick pictures. It was pictures of his dick on a hard drive or something like that, and he wanted to get them back. So Cathy Yan then brought up this article from Cosmic Book News, which isn't the best. Margot Robbie Birds of Prey has pedophilia elements. And then Cathy Yan gets this article and she goes, "Meanwhile, articles like this below are written off your scoops. Congratulations on being the scum of journalism." Wow, that was a low blow, and I bet you that hurt Grace Randolph a lot. So look, it looks like this has annoyed Cathy Yan for a very long time. That article is a few months old, so she's bringing this up now. And look, that's how she feels. It's her film. People making up these false rumors and false claims around pedophilia, something so big, something so huge, something so concerning, and trying to disregard her film, disregard her as a director, and not only that, but as a person. So I think Cathy Yan was in her full right to come back and hit out, not only at Grace Randolph, but all the other bloggers and these type of articles that were written about her film. So she put it in the bud. She said no reshoots were done to go back and change her direction of the film. All that happened was that scene was reshot. No, not reshot, sorry, just cut out of the film, and they just didn't move forward with that idea. There was nothing. She didn't say that the dick pics, as in on a phone, were part of the story, or that it was pedophilia elements. They're all false, and I'm glad Cathy Yan could claim that these were false. But that goes back to the point, what exactly was she referring to when David Ayers was talking about the studio getting involved? How much did they get involved? Was she talking about the action sequences when they brought in another director to do them scenes? But meanwhile, Cathy Yan, that was only her second film, or she only did a few indie films. This was her biggest film yet, with a big enough budget, big enough cast and all this, and big expectations. So she hadn't done action to that extent before, so maybe she just needed a hand with those kind of things. Now, Grace Randolph has been a good supporter of the Schneider Cut movement. Over the last few weeks, she got a lot of things right, and she's dropped a lot of scoops and things like that. But this is a very negative kind of scoop to have, and she had this back in January. So I'm glad Cathy Yan came out and clarified and cleared up the ear about this. And maybe she could have been nicer about it, but also maybe Grace Randolph could have been nicer when she unveiled this scoop that she said it was back in January. So I think everyone is kind of in the wrong, but also in the right, the way they went around about things. Grace Randolph was saying that she wasn't the only one to run with this, but it did come from her to an extent, so she has to take it on the chin in that way. But Cathy Yan came out and cleared everything up, and I'm glad she did, and now we can put those bullshit rumours to bed about dick pics and who McGregor's dick. But as always, guys, let me know what you think of this whole dramatic thing on Twitter. Also, what do you think of David Ayers' comments about his Suicide Squad, and Jared Leto liking some tweets referring to hashtag release the Ayer Cut? Whose side were you on with Cathy Yan and Grace Randolph? I wasn't really on a side. I was just glad that both of them got to speak their piece and Cathy Yan got to clear up the bullshit rumours. So I didn't really take a side, but I was glad that she came out and actually commented on it to an extent and said, look, this is all wrong, this is false, not true at all. So as always, guys, let me know, give a like, comment, subscribe, come follow me on Twitter at MovieBuff100. You'll find me on Instagram at Movies That Matter The Viking, and also on Facebook at Zack Schneider's Justice League. Come and engage, talk about movies, and until next time, guys, stay positive.